Consider that clip that you just watched. I'm in a hunter attack helicopter trying to look for an off-radar target. I don't know what vehicle they're in, so the only thing I can really do is just listen for any jets in the sky and look around to hopefully spot it. But then, out of nowhere, I get hit by 3 explosive rounds from none other than a Raiju jet.
Hey everyone. So, I don't even want to write a script, I kinda just want to get right into this. Gillymaster did a rebalance on the Raiju, and he snuck it into a video where he was talking about glitches that make the Raiju a problem. So I just want to break down this little overhaul that he had in mind. Oh my god, let's just jump in. I wish I had my live reaction to give you. I don't have my live reaction to give you for this.
Don't get me wrong, it's still a very fun aircraft to use, and its VTOL mode with all the tricks you can do with the physics is still very enjoyable, and I don't really want them to change anything about the handling of it.
Completely subjective to say whether the Raiju is fun or not. I don't think so, it's just helpful. But if we're talking about a rework, and we don't want to change the handling, we're already doing something wrong. I'm sorry.
But the way it's utilized in combat, especially when the silent aircraft bug exists, makes for a very frustrating experience all around. Because all the Raiju pilot has to do is sneak up on you off radar, pop out of stealth mode, shoot a couple of shots, and then maybe it disables your control surfaces, say if you're in a B-11 or something.
Who would have thought giving a jet stealth mode is not good for the health of the game? Shocker.
The Raiju is the fastest plane in the entire game, so any other plane that tries to chase it down to engage with it will never catch it. And it can basically outrun any homing missiles that you shoot at it too, if you even can lock onto it if it doesn't have that silent aircraft bug.
If that's the case, other than fixing the bug, why aren't we talking about changing the speed and handling?
So then the question becomes, well, what should be changed about the Raiju then to make it less annoying and frustrating to deal with in free mode? I think the main thing that should be changed is the explosive MGs. This is the main frustration point about fighting a Raiju, that just a couple of hits and you're dead in basically any aircraft before you can even react.
I would argue this is more of a problem with how the planes handle being damaged in this game than it is the fact that there are explosive MGs.
So I did a bit of toying in the game files here and kind of modified the Raiju a bit. So instead of it having explosive MGs, I think it would be fair if it had the same guns that the other dogfighter planes have.
I'm with you so far.
However, I also buffed the fire rate of those guns a tad bit. It's faster than they normally fire, and they don't alternate sides anymore, so it's like one shot from the left, one shot from the right. They fire simultaneously, such as the Buzzard and Annihilator guns do.
What?
Now, it's not shooting as fast as the Buzzard MG or OG laser cannons for that matter. The fire rate is a little bit lower than those. So here's what that looks and sounds like.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, look, granted, these are story mode versions of unarmored aircraft, but I'm gonna need to break this down. If you know anything about the Smugglers Run aircraft, it's that they do have good MGs. They're very powerful for what they are. In fact, they are comparable to the heavy sniper rifle as far as damage goes. And without BST on console ports, the heavy sniper one-taps people. Ignoring latency, ignoring pain, ignoring all the shit that comes with online play, these are the best guns in the game when it comes to dogfighting. You see them on the Pyro, you see them on the Tula, you'd see them on whatever else has these particular guns. They're already pretty powerful as it is. To increase the fire rate a tad, and then to also more or less double the DPS because both guns are firing at the same time, is causing the same problem without the flashiness of explosions. These guns will still tear off control surfaces for planes that have control surfaces that you can tear. That's end of the story. It's the same problem without as much of the tell. Even if you survive a strafe from that in a dogfight, or rather from a hit and run, because that is just what the Raiju does, you're dead, because you either lose the control surfaces, or you just blow up, because of how much you were shot. Not to mention that right now, there is an epidemic of power creep, but for defense, rather than offense, ever since the nerf to the laser and the Hydra. There's already cannons in free mode that suck now, because they were brought down to a reasonable level. And I say they suck just in comparison to what they are now, which is just the Rogue Explosive MG. Not the worst, but the Laser and the Hydra are completely worse off because they both don't really have anything going on for them anymore. The Laser's identity was those cannons, the Hydra's identity was those cannons plus VTOL, and now we have the Raiju, which has the same guns as the Hydra currently. So there's just no upside. But to get back on track a little bit, there are so many cars that are being granted lock-on immunity, which in and of itself, not the worst. You just learn how to free aim your missiles if your vehicle only does missiles. Mostly for things that are like aircraft, like the Thruster, or the Hunter, or Buzzard, or Sparrow. But these cars tend to also be armored. And so a lot of people who have come off from endgame heli videos, Project Heli, yeah, they're just running around in Amani cars and just running from fights, and they think they're PvPing, and they're not PvPing. This is just the opposite problem of Mr. Rebreather in a laser strafing you with thermals. Now you have people who will kill you once when you're minding your own business, be it in grinding, fights, messing around with friends, and then they just run for the rest of the match, quote-unquote match, and you're supposed to just grin and bear it, because the only real options are to get a Savage, which is easily railgun, I cannot speak railgunnable, or to get a Raiju, because of the VTOL being as strong as it is, allows you to kind of go after Amani cars when they don't take to the tunnels. So here we are in a post-laser and Hydra cannon world, and we're kind of just advocating for the removal of explosive MGs again? The weaker explosive MGs? Gotta let us have something.
Now, in return, I think the Raiju should have its missile lock-on range and range in general of its missiles increased.
Increased? Increased?
As the F-35 is known in real life to engage targets from a very long ways away.
Fun fact, GTA Online is at least a little bit fun sometimes because it's not realistic. Let's keep it that way.
And you might be thinking, how would that even help the Raiju? Well, the missiles in general would probably miss the target if they aren't stupid and standing still somewhere. But having a far lock-on range means you can use the Raiju missiles as a way to locate and track targets from far away in the sky, ones that you might not even be able to see just with your own eyes.
So far we have two different buffs. Mind you, it's a slight nerf to have the guns the way that he wants them, because of the practical use for having the explosive MG still, but that is still a buff for its hit-and-run capabilities on other aircraft. Now we want to be able to have a longer missile range for the aircraft that he's not changing the speed and handling on. And
lastly, I can't really do this myself to show you, and bombs don't really work in single player anyways because they run off of an online script, but I think the Raiju should have bombs.
You want the fastest hit-and-run fighter jet to have bombs? Need I remind you that the Raiju has VTOL mode, which means you can go from helicopter-style bombing to jet-style bombing, or aircraft-style bombing in general, rather. That is kind of broken. The Raiju already has a lot going for it, on top of just how GTA 5's coding works. I'm assuming some controls just overrode each other, so they didn't have time to make the bombs work. If you want my little theory that I'm subscribed to, I am pretty sure the Raiju is an import from GTA 6. It will probably be one of, if not the default jet of GTA 6 in its base game. So it'll probably have bombs that function there, which is scary. But when you think about how fast the Raiju is and the type of handling that it has, and you look to the leaks that happened for GTA 6 and you see the size of the map, it makes more sense why this thing is so damn zippy. I mean, even in the trailer, everything is just larger, don't you think? But as far as this game goes, the Raiju doesn't need bombs. And once again, all that we have done here is buff the Raiju.
I think this form of the Raiju would still be very good for PvE purposes, because even the explosive MGs aren't that good for PvE right now. They mostly just fling enemies into the air, and they have so much health that you're better off just using the explosive MGs to ragdoll them and then switching to the missiles to fire and finish them off.
Why is this a point?
But for PvP, it would make it so much less annoying to deal with and fight, I think.
Wrong. Think again.
It wouldn't be 100% perfect. It would still be able to outrun every other plane in the game, which I guess you could decrease the top speed of the Raiju, so that's not the case.
Oh, you guess we could do that? Oh, wow. Thank you for throwing me a bone, Gilbert Masterson. Fucking fat.
Or just increase the speed of homing missiles across the board.
No.
It's highly unlikely any of this stuff even happens, though I doubt the Raiju will ever see changes to it.
If it means we don't get this version of the Raiju, thank God.